Hello, and thank you for joining me on the show today. This is the Now Talks, a collection of inspiring personal stories and leadership lessons from some of the world's most iconic leaders. It is the weekly podcast for women in leadership, brought to you by Nations of Women. My name is Dr. Tina Alton, and I'm your host for today and the coming weeks. And what an absolute pleasure it is to come your way again with the part two of the reset that we have been talking about, the reset season which we're in. Now, why is a reset season? Because we've already crossed the first quarter of the year. We're in the second part of the second half of the year. We're in May. Next month we're going to be in June, and that would be half of the whole year gone. So this week I want to bring us the remaining 6 principles that we started looking at and talking about last week. And in no particular order, the first one I want us to, think through, ponder together, explore together is feedback, being able to receive feedback, or others would say being able to handle feedback without falling apart. Why is that? Because as leaders, we literally have to invite feedback. We have to ask for feedback. It's like you have to I look at feedback as refinement. It's your opportunity to be refined. Now though, it's important to really make this very clear that correction is not a threat, it's actually a tool. So, as a leader, if you can't receive honest input, then it's very evident, it's going to be very evident, it's going to be very, very clear that you will never grow beyond your current capacity, because we all are able to grow beyond our capacity. We're able to extend and actually increase our capacity, our leadership capacity and capability through feedback, right? Why is that, or what do I actually mean? So any leader should never fear feedback. In fact, you have to welcome feedback, right? Your ability to continue staying grounded even when somebody corrects you actually is, I feel like it's one of the key things that tells more about you as a leader, more so than what your resume or CV or titles would actually tell anybody. How we receive feedback tells a lot more. And also feedback, is very important to add this. Feedback does not mean failure. Personally, in my journey as an entrepreneur, businesswoman, and leader, whatever you want to call it, I've always viewed feedback as, it means that, feedback, somebody giving me feedback tells me, it means to me that that person believes I'm worth improving. Now, imagine that's a friend, or imagine that's another leader that, we may be working with, collaborating with, or being in the presence, or being, having the proximity to them. They believe that I'm worth improving. Wow. Like, that's the priceless gift. So hopefully you're kind of like being able to shift your perspective around feedback and why it's important. Simply put, feedback from anyone means that someone, that person believes that you are worth improving. So don't be defensive, because that's just going to keep you stuck. Don't be, what do you call it, broken, because that just is not what feedback is meant to do. Feedback is meant to underpin you. Feedback is meant to refine you. Feedback is meant to strengthen you. Feedback is meant to improve you. And when you adopt and embrace feedback with that mindset and perspective, you will actually go far. You wouldn't be able to, like, maybe lead your team or serve your clients, or, scale your business, or whatever it is that you are, whatever sphere in which you're in as a leader. if every feedback feels like a personal attack to you, because you're just going to constantly be moving forward, backwards, left to right, because you are taking it as a personal attack. Remember, I said feedback is that person telling you or letting you know that they believe you are worth improving. So if somebody's taking that risk by telling you, hey, Tina, I really believe in you and I believe that you're absolutely worth improving. The moment I pick that mindset, I'm able to receive the feedback in the spirit in which it is given. I'm able to see where my growth gaps are, and then I'm able to actually, make the right steps towards closing those leadership gaps. Okay, so here are some actionable challenges. Every week within our podcast, we throw a couple of actionable challenges that you can actually take action on. And when you take action on those challenges, you are able to immediately see some results. So, number one, we all know that we all learn differently. So if you're a leader who learns well by hearing or listening, then ask someone that is close to you. And it's also important who you ask feedback from. You want to ask feedback from somebody that you actually, wants the best for you, like somebody that truly desires for you to be a better person. So ask somebody that's close to you, where do I need to grow as a leader? Listen, don't be defensive. And, I remember very well. I once had an opportunity to do something. And then, afterwards I went back. Somebody had asked me to do something. I went back and say, thanks for the opportunity, to do XYZ. But hey, do you have any feedback for me? Is there anything that I could have done better that, if I take that on board, I would be even better for next time? That's brilliant, because that helps me to know, Tina, this is the area that you can grow even better as a leader. And surprisingly, he gave me one of the fantastic, like the most, I would say, important feedback I've ever received in my whole adult life. And that was to kind of like just be aware of how much being able to smile at people, even when I am serious or focused, when you're present with people, having a softened face and being able to smile really makes a big difference. And I thought, wow, like I'd not really thought about it that way. And he added it to something else. An incredible leader that I admire. I know many other women admire, and it's like, I mean, that there's not a day I've known this wonderful woman that there is not a smile on her face, and it was actually able to recognize, actually, yes, that's very true. And with that sort of attitude, you feel welcomed, you feel warm, you feel safe with that person. So I took that on board, and I have actually been making that effort even on Zoom, with people where, okay, you might say there's not that physical presence with them, but I realized that actually, hey, I can be focused and still have a facial expression that says I'm safe, I'm warm, I'm welcoming, right? And so, like, I had to go and invite that feedback, and that leader felt and believed that, Tina, you are worth improving, and gave me that feedback. And now I know without a doubt that is one of the best feedback I've ever been given in my entire adult life. And I know without a doubt that would make tremendous difference to my own personal life, to my family, and to everywhere I go as a leader in whatever capacity, because it will change the whole air, or it changes. It would change my entire attitude, in many ways than I can even see now. So feedback is very crucial, and you have to be able to ask people that genuinely, they'll give you genuine feedback because they want the best for you. Now, the next actionable challenge for those who learn by like seeing things, right? You're a visual learner. Then I want to encourage you to create a growth from feedback list. So I need to grow from this. And then you want to track, right? how feedback has improved your work or your mindset. Again, is asking people, listening, and then you create that tracker or grow from feedback. And, because whatever you measure gets improved, or like whatever is measured, whatever is tracked and recorded can be repeated. But if you don't track anything, you don't record anything, it's going to be pretty hard to know, okay, how do I repeat that? So it's really important to have that growth from feedback lists and then be able to over, whether it's a 2 week or 1 week, 90 days is usually a good time frame to now look back on and you critique that. How have you improved your work or your mindset based on that, growth from feedback lists? And then for the, you know, kinesthetic learners, choose one piece of feedback this week and apply immediately. Ask people that know you. It can be your work colleagues, can be your family, it can be your kids even, right? Ask them for one piece of feedback and apply immediately, and then see the difference it would make. Another practical application is ask for regular performance check-ins with peers or, again, people that you trust, and practice non-defensive responses. Thank you so much. I'll think about it. That is not being defensive. That is being what a real leader should be, and actually being, good about it, right? And build debriefs into your business flow. What worked, what didn't work, what's next. Again, another tip is feedback is always a sign of respect, not rejection. That is somebody saying, I respect you enough to want to contribute to you being refined. The more you grow, the more you'd be corrected. So you gotta see it as a compliment. Apply really, really fast if you want to grow faster. Principle number 2 is communicate like it matters, because it absolutely does. Clear, timely, respectful communication always builds trust. Poor communication slowly breaks it up. Your words, whether it's spoken, whether it's written, or whether it's left unsaid, are your leadership. What do I mean by that? When you miss messages, when you give vague, expectations, or when you ghost, people, they're all silently killing the opportunity that you would have had or had. People trust leaders who close loops. That means that you don't have too many loose ends. Respond very clearly, show up on time, be a great communicator, and remember, though, great communication isn't about being perfect. It's always about being reliable. In your business, your word is your brand. Every email, every message, every proposal, every voice note tells people who you are. So, again, some actionable challenges. Practice voicing clear next steps at the end of every meeting or call. One of the things I've learned to do on, whether I'm on a call on Zoom, particularly, is to have the meeting summary. So it's able to send me specific summaries from the meeting I have. I'm then able to go through and be able to gain clarity for myself. Okay, fine. What am I supposed to do? What are my action points from this call? What are their action points? And then I'm able to follow up adequately and effectively or efficiently. Again, audit your inbox and client communication. What is overdue and what is unclear? Another actionable challenge is role play a high stakes conversation with a team member or friend, and practice with clarity and with kindness. Very, very important. Practical application, try to respond to, communication or your team or clients or whatever it is within 24, 48 hours, even if it's just to say, I'm on it. That's really, really good, because it tells the other person you haven't forgotten them, you haven't ignored them, you're actually on it. And then don't be afraid to ask for more time. Say, hey, I know I said I'm going to meet the deadline XYZ, but I actually can't make it. Can I extend it? And then be willing to actually push yourself to work within that extension you've given yourself. So you might also want to think about, responses that maintain consistency and speed. So sometimes now with technology, you can get different email applications, for example, that can help you with um, what you call it, templates, maybe. I don't know. But as a leader, I think you always want to be able to write from that place of self rather than, using a template. Is, be able to sit down, put your mind to it, and actually come up with the right feedback or response. And then communicate expectations clearly before, during, and after wherever there are deliverables expected. Being unclear is unkind because then you're going to, have a whole different set of expectations of the person that you're actually communicating with. They're not going to be able to meet your uncommunicated expectations. So then there would be that sense of unfairness or resentment, and that is unkind. Communication reflects your leadership maturity. So how well you're able to communicate reflects that, hey, actually you're a mature leader or you're not a mature leader. But then again, we all have days and times where we all could do with growing up a little bit more. So if people have to chase you, they eventually replace you. That's very, very crucial. Okay. Principle number 9, read the room and the moment, because timing is part of wisdom. You've got to be able to understand the timings, right? And move on time. So not every opportunity is equal. Not every moment should be treated the same. Learning to sense when to act, when to speak, or even when to wait is a skill that separates good leaders from the great ones. Have you ever been in a room where somebody is like, oh my gosh, like I don't even know why they spoke. They had to be quiet, or maybe they needed to speak and they didn't speak, right? So again, all of those are really, really good. So you've got to be able to know, when do I act? When do I speak? When do I wait? These are very crucial leadership skills and characteristics. Again, some situations demand speed, others will demand patience. The key, though, is knowing the difference between what requires speed, as in I've got to move fast, I've got to be quick about this, and what also requires that I actually take time, pause, sit back, look at it from different, angles. Again, perspective, because perspective is everything. Also, emotional intelligence is not really about your feelings. Like today in church, it's about like, don't move with your feelings. You've got to move with what is actually um right, what is true, right? What are you hearing? So emotional intelligence is not about feelings, it's about timing, it's about your tone, and it's about your presence. That's what tells somebody, or that's what actually indicates as a leader that you're actually emotionally intelligent or emotionally mature. You need to learn the weight of a moment. Every moment carries a certain kind of weight. Such as when to speak up, when to lead, when to pause. Okay. Reacting is instinct, responding is leadership. There's a difference between reacting and responding. So when you're reacting, you're really being just going with your instinct, but you can respond in a way that demonstrates leadership. Now, every missed moment isn't just a lost opportunity, it could actually shift how people will experience your leadership. Very, very important. Some actionable challenges for you is reflect aloud. What recent moment did you rush, maybe, or did you ignore? And what did it cost you, right? Number one. Action point number 2 is maybe journal 3 recent moments where timing was very, very key. Did you read the room correct? Did you read the room correctly, or did you actually miss it? Action point number 3 is this week, pause for 3 seconds before responding, particularly in high stakes conversations. Okay. And then some practical application, add timing check to your decision making process. Again, go back to the podcast previously on decisions, why, the art, or I can't remember the exact title, but go through the Nations of Women podcast. It's on how to make decisions. So add timing check to your decision making process. Is now the right moment or not? Debrief missed moments with mentors or your team. What did we miss and what can you learn from it? And finally, practice silence. Not every situation actually needs a fast answer. Some situation just needs for you to zip up, just zip, be quiet, right? Tip here, awareness would create an advantage for you always as a leader. Your presence is power, so use it. If you're present, it means that there is a purpose for you being present in that room. So use it. Using it means sometimes you've got to be present and then be quiet. Sometimes got to be present, you got to speak up. Sometimes got to be present and then you just have to wait. Again, I've talked about it. You've got to know the difference between all of those things. Don't miss a defining moment because you were distracted. Distraction is a it's a big thing. We all go through it. And sometimes we miss moments that are meant to really define our leadership, maybe even define our purpose, define our destiny, define our next season, our next breakthrough, our next level. You fill in the blank, but we missed it because we were distracted. So look out for what distracts you as a leader. Principle number 10, protect what you've been given, because leadership is stewardship, not status. Every opportunity, every platform, or every position you've been entrusted with is a responsibility. When you treat what you've been given just casually, you would lose the very thing you may have been praying for, right? So being successful isn't just about, oh, I've got to gain more. It's actually about managing what is already in your hands, right? Entitlement will always kill an opportunity, but being a good steward of the opportunity you've given actually will multiply it. Let me say that again. Entitlement kills opportunity and stewardship multiplies it. So you got to ask yourself, am I managing this role? Am I managing this platform? Am I managing this team like it's actually sacred? Or am I actually going about it like it's something common, right? And what you neglect in your leadership when it comes to what you've been given, what you've been trusted with in the area of stewardship, what you neglect, you would eventually lose. The more you can be trusted with, the more seriously you need to take it. So when somebody trusts you with something, no matter how small or how big, you need to take it seriously. Okay. Now, some challenges. Record a voice note. What am I responsible for and how am I treating it? What are you responsible for and how are you treating it? Another challenge number 2 is list every area you're managing or you're stewarding and rate how well are you protecting that, right? Challenge number 3, take one under-managed area or one area that you're really doing not so good when it comes to stewarding it and improve it this week. It's always about action over your intention. Practical application, tighten up your systems. Don't rely on, I'm going to remember it, because you're going to be in chaos. Revisit your mission. What is your mission? What is your why? What's your vision? What's your purpose? What direction are you headed to? Why were you trusted with this in the very first place? Start with your calendar. Where are you investing your energy? Where are you investing your time? How are you stewarding your own time? That would tell a lot more about how you're stewarding opportunities that you have been entrusted with. So tip, don't lose what you mishandled. So if in the past, if you mishandled something, not stewarded it, don't lose it. If you can save it, go for it. The way you treat small opportunities is how you absolutely would treat big opportunities. And stewardship would always precede a promotion. Okay. To get higher up, your next level, next breakthrough, next season, whatever it is, stewardship would always precede that next level. Principle number 11, let values guide your visibility, because not every opportunity is worth the spotlight. It's easy to chase attention, but real leaders will protect their integrity, whether it's online, on stage, and in every room they enter. Your visibility without values is a simple trap. It's simply just a trap. Just because someone's popular doesn't mean that that there is real alignments that you need to be aligned, and your growth should never come at the expense of who you are. I learned this very earlier on as a young woman, as a young leader, that you always have to give the benefits of the doubt to people, but it should never be at the cost of your integrity. Now, boy, has that cost me. It's cost me so much, big time. But what And the biggest prize in all of that was I kept my integrity. So let me say that again. Growth should never come at the expense of who you are. You can give everybody the benefits of the doubt, but it should never, ever be at the expense of your integrity. Your brand isn't just what you show, it's what you stand for. Boundaries and visibility will preserve your health, your emotional, your mental, all of those things, and credibility in the long term, and your peace of mind. You don't have to do what everybody else is doing to be successful. You just have to focus on who God says you are, what He's called you to be, what has He entrusted you, and go with it with all of your might. So, some action. What I build matters more than what you post. Okay, because social media is like literally going crazy right now. So maybe audit your last 10 pieces of content. Do they reflect your actual values? Question, food for thought. Choose one public facing opportunity this week and run it through your integrity filter before saying yes. Some practical applications: set criteria for what you say yes to publicly and schedule regular offline days, reclaim your headspace, make sure that you are sound in your own clarity of mind. And always remember to revisit your why and let that inform, wherever you're showing up and your values. So visibility without the right alignment is just empty influence. And we know that leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. Your reputation is far more valuable than your reach. Okay. And it's better to be known for what you believe, not just what you build. What are your values, right? Be known for your real values, not all because I built this or built that, but be known for the values with which you do life with. And the final principle, number 12, don't lead alone, because the right people are part of your calling. Everybody will need somebody to fulfill your purpose, your calling, your destiny, whatever it is, because we're created for community. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need the right people in your corner. Leadership is never a solo sport, right? Behind every great leader is a circle that sees her or him, sharpens her, and holds her to her standards, like, calls you up higher. If you're the smarter person in the room, you're in the wrong room, right? Leading alone might make you feel like it's safer. That's its deception, because it slowly would slow your growth. To collaborate with somebody else isn't weakness. That is one of the best things you can do. It shows maturity, it shows security, and it allows you to be able to have, shared common vision, purpose, etc. And the right people, though, you have to be aware, will challenge you. They will remind you who you are. They will help carry what you're building, and they will sharpen you, right? The Bible says that iron sharpens iron, and that bad company will corrupt, good morals. So again, it's about making sure that you're collaborating, connecting with the right people that will actually sharpen who you are. So just a thought or question is, write down, who is sharpening you? How are you showing up in that relationship, right? And draw your current leadership circle. Who's missing? What kind of person needs to be in there? It could be somebody that, really will hold you accountable, not allow you to continue telling yourself nonsense, right? Will challenge your thinking, would help you change your perspective, and would also be able to help you tilt your head just to see it from a different angle altogether. Maybe set a coffee chat, connection call, or accountability check-in this week. Whatever it is, do it. Now, a practical application, to build a circle of advisors, not just cheerleaders. That's something we do here in Nations of Women, where we have what we call the thinking partners. And these are women, you come together and you think together, you expand and hone in and zone in on your vision. Why? Because and we can only be transformed by the renewal of our mind. Therefore, it means what I'm thinking is important, how I'm thinking is important, and even more crucial is who I'm thinking with is more important. And we also know that two heads are better than one. So that's why we have the thinking partners. It's usually a table of, 6, 8, or 12 women coming together once a quarter and being able to think together, building that circle of advisors around our vision and our purpose and etc. Schedule regular connection points with your inner circle. Be the kind of leader who also lifts others as you're rising. Tips: independence is good, but isolation is dangerous. Strong leaders know how to ask for help. Grow with people who grow you, right? Because there can be the danger of growing with people who are actually not growing you. So these in closing, these principles are not necessarily a checklist. They're foundation. I consider them the really solid foundation to build on, because we know when you're building a house or anything, you need solid foundation that is able to carry the full structure, right? The foundation you'd build a bungalow on would not be the same foundation you'd build 3, 10, or 20-story building. You need the foundation that is fit for purpose. So I consider these principles as solid foundation. You don't need to do them all perfectly, but if you start building your leadership on these truth of principles or foundation one at a time, you will not just grow, you will actually last. It's not just your comeback, this is your reset. And what I really need to remind you is that your next level starts now. So finally, if this has resonated with you, then share it with a woman that you admire, somebody that you also believe that they're worth being refined. There's somebody you believe in and say, you know what, hey, you're worth improving, you're worth becoming better than where you are at now. And share this podcast with them so that they can also be able to build boldly, find good solid ground, and build these foundations for an impactful leadership. So that's it from me, and I'll see you again next week.
And that's all for this week. You've been listening to Dr. Tina Alton with the Now Talks, the weekly podcast for women in leadership, brought to you by Nations of Women. All that remains is for me to say have a fantastic week, stay safe, and reach out if you need any help now at nationsofwomen.com. Until next time, enjoy the pursuit of your potential, and remember, now is your time.